In this context, in this passage, we're talking about desire for things, with that desire being socially located, socially generated, socially exacerbated, and so on. It is mimetic desire, imitative desire. James is asking why fights arise among you. Why to fight? Where do these fights come from? Like, what are you wearing that dress for? Right? Or the one who bought it second accuses you of copying her, right? He says that we covet what somebody else has. Somebody else has something, and we covet it. We want it. Verse 2. We fight with somebody else. Verse 2. He then locates the root problem, and the root problem in verse 4 is friendship with the world. That world is Vanity Fair, located in a gigantic hall of mirrors. And those mirrors are other people. Those mirrors are other people. This is friendship with the world, along with all of its lies, blandishments, advertisements, fashions, fads, and entertainment stampedes. You could be quite godly if it were not for all those other people. So, here's the problem. Collisions result from convergence. You have two cars collide at the intersection because both of them approached the intersection. They collide because they were coming closer. You don't have collisions unless you have some sort of proximity. Collisions result from convergence. But it's not just other people. It's the other people we know, the people who are up close to us, in our neighborhood, in our school, or in this college together with you. Secularists, humanists, when trying to give an account of human fractiousness, because they're humanists, and so they have to believe that mankind is basically good, which is a hard proposition to maintain when the bodies keep stacking up, when the wars keep breaking out, when the awful atrocities keep happening. How do I account for the fact that man is basically good when he keeps doing these awful things? They have to give an account of human fractiousness, and they will say, this is an answer that goes back to Socrates, actually. Why do men who are basically good do all these evil things? Well, the answer has to be something like ignorance. Men do evil because of ignorance. And what we have to do then is teach them, which means that for the humanist, the savior is education. The savior is education, because we just need a program. We need more funding for the program. We need better schools. We need better teachers. We need to bring solutions and information to our people to fix this problem. But for the Christian, the problem is sin. The problem is rebellion. The problem is a kink in the soul that wants to do the bad things, right? So the secularists, when giving an account of human fractiousness, and they say, well, ignorance is the problem, one of the things that we're ignorant of is how these other people that we're in conflict with are actually very much like ourselves. And this is a quaint myth that they appeal to. They believe that we collide with one another because of our perceived differences. And if we could only come to see how many similarities we share, then the fluffy clouds would suddenly appear and attractive woodland creatures would start capering in the meadow. The whole rainbows and unicorns. And so it is, and this is why they sponsor international student exchange programs, food fairs where we sample one another's exotic foods, and they love to solve tangled geopolitical problems with diplomacy. Let's all get together and hug this thing out. Let's get together and discover how much we have in common. Well, the problem here is, why are the worst, most vicious wars the civil wars? Those are the really vicious ones. And those are the ones where you really understand the other side, right? You speak the same language, you came from the same city, you're in the same situation, and everybody, what's going on? The humanist wants to say, oh, if we just understood the Klingons and the Klingons understood us, we wouldn't be in conflict. We have to have mutual understanding. Well, that's simply false. What if conflict is caused not by dissimilarity, but rather by similarity? What if conflict is caused by similarity? You bonk heads with someone precisely because you were both reaching for the same thing. Why were you reaching for the same thing? Because you both wanted the same thing. Why did you want the same thing? Because your tastes are very similar. You're converging, all right? Your tastes were so similar and you were reaching for the same thing. So I illustrate this problem with this setup. Suppose you have a room with 20 toys on the floor, and all the toys are identical except for the serial number on the bottom, which is minuscule. And you have one toddler in there, preferably a 2-year-old boy, okay? And he's holding one of the toys, 19 on the floor, he's holding one of the toys. Introduce into the equation one other 2-year-old, preferably male, and he comes into the room. There's 19 available toys, identical to the one being held, right? You with me so far? And he wants to play with the toy too. Which toy does he want? He wants the best one. But how do you tell which is the best one? Which is the most valuable toy in there? Well, the one being valued, right? And there's only one person in there valuing anything. He's holding the toy. So toddler number 2 comes and reaches for the toy. What do you have? Conflict. Because toddler number 1 was sick and tired of that toy and just on the verge of putting it down. He was 3 seconds away from putting it down when toddler number 2 reached for it. And now all of a sudden he thought, maybe there's more to this toy after all. Right? What do you have? Conflict. And there's plenty to go around, but that's not how this works. Herod stole Herodias, his sister-in-law, from his brother Philip. Now, if you believe that Herod stole Herodias from Philip, not knowing who she was, not knowing that she was his sister-in-law, and I'm totally flabbergasted. I didn't know of this connection. No, this was a brother competition. This was a brother thing. Philip had Herodias holding the toy. Herod came and took the toy, successfully took the toy away. And that was the cause of the conflict. So you're reaching for the same thing because of your tastes are similar. If you will allow me a few autobiographical illustrations, that might help. I've been in the education business for some 40-odd years now, between 40 and 50, somewhere in there. I don't know. It was dark. They were big. So during that time, guess how many scrapes and collisions I may have had with advocates of the Montessori approach to education? Well, 0. I have had no conflicts whatever with the Montessori people. And how many tangles have I had with classical Christian, Latin-loving, logic-teaching, trivium applauding, sayers appreciating educators? No idea. Too many to keep track of. Boom, boom, collide here, there. What on earth is happening? Why am I in conflicts with all these people who are standing right next to me, pedagogically speaking? We're in agreement. Why am I always in conflict with these people and these other people? Not at all. I've got wide divergences with them, I guess. I don't know because I've never been in conflict with them. How about theology? How many battles have I waged with ministers from the Assemblies of God? Again, 0. How many conflicts, how many head-on collisions have I had with Catholic monsignors? 0. How many head bumps have I had with Reformed, postmillennial, presuppositional, paedobaptistic, and Presbyterian brethren? Now, I'm going to make this personal for you in a minute. It's not just about me. You're in it for it too. You have collisions with your roommate because of things that you share. You have collisions with your roommate because of things that you share or things that you would rather not share. And that includes the things that he borrows without asking. So similar views, similar tastes, similar opinions, similar doctrines cause people to converge. And when they converge, conflict is hard to avoid. I cannot tell you how many times I've counseled a young man who is interested in a young lady. That's about 6 months out from now, springtime. Some of you will be involved. I've counseled a young man who the sun's shining longer in the springtime, and somebody else might get her in the meantime. I'm burning daylight here. And so I've counseled a young man who's interested in a young lady, and he wants to know if he should contact her father. And I am trying to figure out what to do with the fact that I had a very similar conversation just the previous week with this fellow's roommate about the same girl. Did this happen to me 10 years ago and it scarred me? No, this has happened more than once. More than once. This kind of thing does not happen because everybody is so dissimilar. Doesn't happen because everybody's so dissimilar. It happens because of your shared tastes. In this case, both boys have very good taste, right? Good job. Do you have any idea? Have you talked about this out loud back when your roommate was listening? Right? What a fine human being, what a fine Christian this girl is. Have you gone on and on and on? And your roommate said, yeah, that's right. Man. Now, what should we do about all this? I'm a preacher, and so of course I'm going to tell you to bring it to the cross. But no, in this case, no, really, you bring it to the cross.